Frank Warren wants Deontay Wilder versus Daniel Dubois after Tyson Fury trilogy. Let's quickly get to what Frank Warren's actually said before I delve into my opinion on this. He said, Wilder is good, don't get me wrong, but my man will be miles better in time. Daniel's big and powerful, and everyone knows he can punch too. But he's a good boxer. I've said that he has Larry Holmes like jab, and he works the body as well, like as any heavyweight on earth. I've been telling people how good Daniel is, and once the world starts going back to normal, I'll have no doubt he'll show you. Daniel is the best heavyweight prospect on the planet, and he'll have far too much for Deontay Wilder. I truly believe that. So those are the words of Frank Warren. Now, in my opinion, I'm not even going to take too long on this one, because in my opinion, I don't think Daniel Dubois is ready for Deontay Wilder right now. What Daniel Dubois and Frank Warren need to be thinking about right now is Joe Joyce, because if you go and check the Daniel Dubois' resume, he hasn't fought anybody to even potentially even warrant a Deontay Wilder fight. Even if Deontay Wilder was to lose the trilogy, do you honestly believe that Deontay Wilder is going to fight Daniel Dubois? Like, why would he have to do that? The last time I checked, Deontay Wilder's ranked number 2 in the WBA. So even if he was to lose, he'd be ranked quite highly in the WBA. So what would be the reasoning behind Deontay Wilder wanting to fight Daniel Dubois? Barely anyone really knows who Dubois is right now. Even if he was to knock Joe Joyce Bark out, that doesn't automatically mean that all of a sudden that's going to be the fight that's really going to generate, massive income for Deontay Wilder in terms of selling tickets. And also, there's a question of risk reward. Why would Deontay Wilder, the PBC, want to risk Deontay against an upcoming prospect who can punch like Daniel Dubois? And and I don't know what the noise around Dubois is going to be like if he was to knock Joe Joyce Spark out. But I don't think he would be enough to to encourage PBC and Deontay Wilder to want to take that risk. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just think this is just noise from Frank Warren trying to put obviously Daniel Dubois' name obviously alongside Deontay Wilder, and at the same time we've seen Deontay Wilder doing the similar thing with AJ, because Deontay Wilder got quite popular after his little feud with AJ, but Frank Warren seemed to be playing the same card, the same mantra with Daniel Dubois, potentially wanting to pit him up against Deontay Wilder. Now, how would Daniel Dubois do against Deontay Wilder? Now, we don't know how good Daniel Dubois really is. Obviously, he's had some good-looking knockouts. Knocked out Gorman. Knocked out Tete. But who are these guys? Like, you check his resume. Obviously, he's got Joyce lined up. He's fought Fujimoto. That guy's a cream puff. Ebenezer Tete, let's not go into him. Nathan Gorman, decent fighter. He's not elite. I don't even know. Is Nathan Gorman even ranked in the top 10 of any, top 15, top 10 of any sanctioning bodies? I need to go have a look. Richard Lartey, he's the only one I've seen put up a decent resistance, but he's not any good either. So who has Daniel Dubois really fought for us to use as a yardstick to say, okay, this guy could do this so and so to AJ or Deontay or even Dylan White or any of these guys, or even Derek Chisora? He ain't fought nobody. If he beats Joe Joyce in devastating fashion, because it'll be interesting to see what he does against Joe Joyce, because I tend to liken Joe Joyce. Obviously, he's not like a Dominic Brazil. He's not exactly Dominic Brazil. I think he's got better foot speed than Dominic Brazil, just a bit. But the dynamic-wise, they're quite similar. And I saw what Deontay did to Dominic Brazil, so it'll be interesting to see what what Daniel Dubois can actually do with Joe Joyce. That's if he beats Joe Joyce, because that's not a given. Joe Joyce is a tough fighter. He's got experience. He's fought guys like Usyk. He's fought guys like what's the other guy's name? Hergovich in the amateurs. So he's got a bucket load of amateur experience. So if Dubois thinks it's just because he's coming in there to fight a milkman, he's making a big mistake. And does Frank Warren want his money man to get knocked spark out by putting him in there too early? Is he trying to, do an Eddie Hearn, the way Eddie Hearn fast tracked Anthony Joshua? Is he trying to pull off something similar? Well, I think that'll be a mistake rushing him into the biggest puncher, potentially the heavyweight division. Because if he was to go in there and get knocked spark out, nobody's going to be really interested in Dubois as much if he gets knocked spark out by Deontay, especially after seeing what Tyson Fury was able to do. But obviously he had age, maybe because Daniel Dubois is young in age, and Frank Warren thinks even if he was to lose to Deontay Wilder, he would have time to come back. And if he put up a decent fight against Deontay and he came back, then everybody will still give him his fair dues, and he can still come back because he's young. But I think it's a bit too early to be talking about Daniel Dubois fighting someone like Deontay Wilder, because before Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury in this rematch, people seem to be having amnesia because this guy was knocking guys spark out. And I don't care that he says some of these guys are not good fighters or whatever. All the top heavyweights, Tyson Fury has fought journeyman, AJ has fought journeyman, all the top fighters have fought journeyman, and Deontay knocks out these journeymen in more devastating fashion than any of the other guys. So that's obvious that this guy's got something special in terms of his punching power. So I don't think, for me, it's too early for Daniel Dubois to be taking on Deontay Wilder. He needs to focus on taking on a Joe Joyce first, and then for me, he needs to maybe get some, top 10 ranked guys to, add to his resume, similar to what Dillian Whyte is doing. Dillian Whyte now, he's built up his profile as one of the top heavyweights. Probably some people put him in the top 3 now. The reason behind that is because of the guys that he's been beating. He's beaten Joseph Parker, he's beaten Lucas Brown, he's beaten beaten Oscar Rivas. He's beaten some good names. He's going to be taking on Povetkin now if he knocks Povetkin spark out. Dillian Whyte might have arguably one of the best resumes in the heavyweight division, behind AJ probably. So for me, Dubois needs to probably, take on some guys in the who are top above him in the rankings. Because why take the risk of fighting Deontay Wilder when, he's ranked number 3 in the WBO now? Frank Warren should be focusing on finding a route to this guy to a mandatory shot, rather than putting him in front of Deontay Wilder, who Frank Warren's assuming will lose the trilogy, which Deontay might not actually lose the trilogy. What if he wins? But for argument's sake, he's saying Deontay's going to lose the trilogy. He should fight Dubois. Why would he want to fight someone as dangerous as Deontay Wilder who's not got a belt? It doesn't make any sense. He'll go in there, get knocked spark out, and then all of a sudden Dubois' stock goes down because we've seen Tyson Fury not get knocked spark out, and then all of a sudden you've just got Dubois just on the resume of Deontay as one of the other guys he's knocked spark out in devastating fashion. But Dubois also, I think, there's another article here. Let's quickly get to it. I think Dubois said something in this article. Where's what he said? I know he said a few things. Dubois says, I've got more tools. I've got plenty of tools to use. I'll find a way to win and break him down. Dubois, and he also went on to say, this is what heavyweight game is all about. Knockouts and exciting nights. It will be interesting when it happens. So, Dubois is quite confident. He would like to fight Deontay. He also said that he was champion a long time, but his reign is over now. When we do meet, I'll be looking forward to it, and it'll be interesting. So I think it's good for young heavyweights coming up, to be talking like this, to be confident. When they ask them, "Are you gonna knock this? Would you knock this guy out?" and you say, "Yeah, you should." They should be saying that. I'm not really a fan of these heavyweights, which in my previous videos I've spoken about Joseph Parker, where he talks about other fighters being his friends and all that. I just don't like that kind of talking. You're in this game to knock guys out and become the champion. There's no friends in boxing. And I like Dubois' seriousness. I remember he had this sit down with Nathan Gorman. Nathan Gorman was basically talking about how Dubois in camp, GB camp, was quite to himself. And Dubois was alluding to, not, being taught that there's no friends in boxing. And I think that is the way to go. He should be saying what he's saying about Deontay Wilder, but saying and doing is another thing. And Dubois saying he's got the tools. Obviously, Dubois got power, and he's shown, a good level of skills as well. He's got good balance. He's got good good foot speed as well, decent foot speed. But I can't say, Dubois saying he's got the tools. Like, who has he fought? We've never seen Dubois in trenches. We've never seen Dubois, it's going to be interesting to see how he does with Joe Joyce, a taller man, because Deontay is taller than Daniel Dubois. I need to see more from Daniel Dubois, because for me, there's a lot of parallels between Dubois and, the FA Jagba fighting out of the United States right now, Nigerian heavyweight, because PBC guys have been hyping up, FA Jagba. A lot of people, are starting to want to expect Frank Warren, he should be, but wanting to hype up Daniel Dubois. And both men haven't really fought anybody of note, anyone to really test them. Then I can say, these guys are the real deal. Until these guys have been tested, their chins have been tested, I can't say whether they're capable of beating someone like Deontay Wilder, because if Dubois goes in there and fights Joe Joyce and gets clipped on the chin and he gets rocked, he's all over the place, that'll completely change a lot of people's perspective. They'll just be like, okay, so if Deontay clips this guy partially or remotely, it goes remotely close to clipping him anywhere near his chin or anything like that, will this guy just be knocked spark out if Joe Joyce is getting in that kind of trouble? People need to pump the brakes on Dubois, pump the brakes on FA Jagba, pump the brakes on a lot of these Hergovich, some of these upcoming fighters. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see what happens when they fight, higher ranked guys. Let's see what happens when Dubois fights Joseph Parker for the WBO, eliminator. Let's see what happens if Jagba might go on to fight, maybe a Kaunaki or a Charles Martin or maybe a Dominic Brazil, might go on to fight any of these guys on the PBC side. I think it's a bit early jumping on the bandwagon talking about, some of these guys are going to go in there, not Deontay Wilder out. Because just because Deontay lost once to Tyson Fury, people are trying to, too many fighters, Dylan White, Daniel Dubois, and some of these guys are using that as a yardstick to say, oh, okay, I can go in there and beat Deontay. No. It doesn't work like that. Styles make the fights, and Fury's style is basically the most difficult style you can find to put Deontay Wilder against. That movement, that slipping shots, that ring IQ. Has Dubois got that, ability to ride shots, slip shots like Tyson Fury? A shorter fighter than Tyson Fury. Can he do that? Because these guys seem to be believing that just because Fury walked into Deontay, smothered him, they think they can do the same. Big mistake from a lot of these guys. Drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Frank Warren talking about believing that he wants to put Frank Warren saying he wants to put Daniel Dubois up against Deontay Wilder? What do you guys think about that? Cool.